Hi, this is Charlie Mato-Toyela, and this time we're making a video not so much about Native American flutes and flute playing and flute making, but more a little bit of a kind of a question and answer, I guess, point. We've had a lot of people ask who I am and what I've done and all these kind of things, so I thought I would give you just a real quick little about me informational video here to tell you something more about who I am and where I come from and what I've done. I've lived in the southeast of the United States most of my life. My wife, Jessie, we've been together for about 20 years now. We have three wonderful kids, River, Makasha, and Makani, all of which have some amazing talents. You may have even seen some of our videos of Makani and his piano playing, which is kind of neat. But a little bit more about myself. Yeah, I mentioned my kids and my wife because they really are what make a lot of who I am. We do a lot of things together. We've traveled all over the place, and I say I've lived in the southeast most of my life. We really have, although we have spent a lot of time traveling. You know, we've lived in Wyoming for a while, in Oklahoma. We've also spent a lot of time in Teotihuacan, Mexico, which I felt like I've lived there quite a bit. But as far as where I come from, my dad's family is originally from northern Alabama, and his family is where my Cherokee lineage is from. In Guntersville, Alabama, if you ever get a chance to go through there, or if you get a chance to look up the Book of Guntersville, you can find it online. It's very interesting. It mentions a lot of stuff about my dad's family and a lot of our distant relatives. In the town there, though, we have several, I guess, really significant ancestral areas for Cherokee people. You know, it wasn't just Cherokee people that lived there before the Indian Removal Act was signed, but there were all kinds of Indian people that lived in the surrounding area. But in Guntersville, which as I'm told is where Chief Bushyhead, who's a member of the Eastern Band, was from Guntersville. The town's named after John Gunter, who was a member of Cherokee Council, who was an active member of Red Clay, and really, I guess, the founder of the town. From what I understand, he bought the land there that is Guntersville, and I believe he put lots of his family and friends from council there. And even in my own personal family records, because on, say, for example, some genealogy like the Census Bureau records, you can only have either a B or a W in certain areas, you know, and I've got members of my family that had a B for black, and then it has a line through it, and they're white. So I always say, which one was it, you know? But most of this family, their names were like Emerald and Evergreen, Pearl. I had a Uncle Algie, you know. Those aren't really black or white names. Opal, you know, not just southern names as people say. But anyway, my dad's family is where I get my Cherokee lineage from, and we're enrolled with an official tribe of Cherokee Indians. You know, not that that's necessarily important. It is important, though. You know, our tribe is I guess, the founding members and the people that are from the area that are primary, you know, who it comes from, including my dad's family from Marshall County there in Alabama. They are Paint Clan Cherokee Indians, and the Paint Clan was they're from that area. It's the way things are, you know. Just like you get a lot of Deer Clan that live up in the North Carolina areas these days, and everything, and a lot of in the northern Georgia areas where a lot of those were from originally. likewise, you get a lot of people that seem to be of Bird Clan and Wild Potato Clan that live out in Oklahoma. Um, there's a mixture of different people out there, and most people don't know what their Cherokee clan was. And the Cherokee clan was important in a lot of ways, because everything from marriage to what the people did and are associated with, I guess, are important for those kind of things. And then my mom's side of the family, my mom's dad was from Wisconsin. He was in the Army for a long, long time, U.S. Army. I always tell people he got in there when they were still riding horses. I've got a newspaper clipping where it says that he was the first Native American to make the rank of Brigadier General in the U.S. Army. A lot of people say, well, what about Stan Whitey? Well, Stan was a Cherokee, made Brigadier General, but he was a Confederate soldier, so that was a little different, but I think Stan definitely did. He predates my granddad, but once again, that was a Confederate soldier. My granddad traveled a lot and did a lot of interesting things in his time in the Army. He was born in 1898. He was a Lakota and Ojibwe Indian. He's been gone since I was born. That's my mom's dad. My dad's dad is the one that I refer to learning about how to make the Cherokee whistle with. But my mom's dad, he was the one that, he was a really neat guy. Traveled around and seen a lot of things. Met my grandmother in Panama. My grandmother, he was in the Army, so he was there at the time that the Panama Canal was being built. He had seen and been through and, had been all over the world, but he met my grandma in Panama in the San Blas Islands, and they got married, and eventually they moved up here around the Gulf Coast, I think, of the U.S. They lived all over, but that's where they kind of settled in. My grandma, of course, was the Kuna Indian. My dad's mother was Cherokee and Choctaw, and from what we know. But my mom's mother was the Kuna Indian, and she never became an American citizen. She lived up here for like 50 years, but decided to stay with her people, at least in spirit, if nothing else. And back in those days, people would leave their country like that. They still had a lot of cultural ties with their people, so it was really important stuff. She was a very interesting woman, just like my other grandma. But myself, I had, at the time that I was in high school, I'm 42 today at the time we're making this video. I was born in 1973. In high school, what's that, like 20 years ago? They say the memory's the first thing to go. It's been a long time ago, like 25 years ago. I was involved, I guess, with other Indian people in our school. We had a couple of Choctaw friends. Once again, I grew up in the Gulf Coast, so I had some Choctaw friends that were in my school, and I had one friend that was Apache in my school. He had come from somewhere else, and we had not really like a club, but like a group where we got together and talked and stuff, and later on in life, I had, I guess kind of during and after school time, after I graduated, I spent a lot of time with some of the neighboring Creek Indian tribes, because it's mostly Creeks that live in the south of Alabama and the north of Florida area. So we spent a lot of time doing things, and I went to a lot of powwows even as a kid. And at that time, Native American flutes weren't really that common at powwows. They weren't really around or available. There weren't any flute players coming out to powwows, which these days you go to a powwow and the first thing people ask you is, who is your flute player? As if it's like a prerequisite to having a a powwow. You have to have a flute player. I've got some interesting ideas about flutes, as a lot of you know. We have videos for making all types of flutes and playing all types of flutes. And we have some upcoming videos for some very interesting flute types. Now, I know a lot of you that are familiar with me already know about the way I feel about the 6-hole flute, being that it was, originally a lot smaller. I've made 6-hole flutes that were identical to the ones that were, historically discovered, and they play a different way than the ones that you see. I've always played my traditional 6-hole flutes for several of my albums, and I've also played my 5-hole flutes for the albums. But what a lot of you may not know is that I guess it was about 2001 that we released a couple of albums that were sold all over the world through a giant company. The company is no longer around. They kind of sold out to their competitor, but when they changed hands, I didn't travel on with them, either because of convenience or just the way the music business is. But I've played music all of my life. I played it in high school and middle school and before school. I played music. The pan flutes were one of my favorite instruments. I remember having seen them one time, and I had to make some of them immediately. It wasn't really that difficult. Where I grew up, we lived in the swamp, and we had all kinds of cane growing out there, so we had materials to make whatever we wanted out of. My dad and I used to make fish baskets together out of some of the materials that we had growing out there, and we trapped a lot of things. I know I was talking to my wife just the other day. Some of you that know me personally know that I'm a vegetarian, but back in the old days when I grew up, we weren't vegetarians, and I wasn't interested in that kind of thing back in those days. We ate everything that came out of the swamps. We ate raccoons, and I remember just the other day I was telling Jesse some stories about catching raccoons as a kid. My dad would trade them to this one guy or sell them to him depending on circumstances, and that guy would skin them, and they would sell their skins and sell their meat separately and stuff. And you wouldn't think there would be a market for raccoon meat, but apparently there was. It helped through a lot of what I went through in my childhood. But we ate a lot of fish. We caught fish every day. We always had lines, fishing lines set at night so that we could catch catfish and bring them home in the morning to either freeze for the weekend or for the week or whatever. We eat fish a lot of the time. My mom and dad always had gardens. When I was young, they kept bees, and it's not something I've done since I was a little one, but it's definitely a goal for my future. One thing that speaking of bees, I wanted to tell you guys about, a lot of you probably think, and since I've been on this flute path, I've had some people ask me these strange questions, and I thought to myself, why would somebody ask me that? But, some of you may not know that I speak several languages. I took German in high school, and I've used it ever since. I learned Spanish in Mexico, and my Spanish isn't perfect, but it's really pretty good, I guess. I know a lot of Mexican Spanish rather than Espanol from España. But anyway, something I wrote on the back here is Amplius Ignis Lumen Illustris. And that's not Spanish, that's Latin, which is something else I studied a great deal. I've always been interested in history. I guess my mom was really a history buff, and I've always been really interested in history. And Latin is really one of those key languages in history. And on the back of my book here, that Amplius Ignis means the more light, or the more fires, Lumen Illustris, the brighter the light. So it's kind of my little philosophy, my motto on the back of the book there. Not necessarily a motto that I live by every day, only when it's a good opportunity, but I like to think that if we share information and ideas, that it makes everybody brighter. So, the more fires, the brighter the light. You can look at that from the Indian perspective too. A lot of people used to have Indian philosophy, and they talked about Native American camps and the fires and everything, and how important the fire was. And a lot of people take that for granted today. Most people don't even use fire on a daily basis unless maybe they smoke. And even at this point in history, there's a lot of people using the electronic cigarettes that don't even, use fire for that. So the fire is just kind of, it's kind of vanished from the whole scenario. So whatever you use fire for, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I'm not telling you to start smoking by any means. And I'm definitely not telling you to start using electronic smoking. All that stuff's a habit that you don't necessarily have to have. But fire is really important, and it's what we use for making a lot of our flutes. And like I say, I wanted to include that on the back of the book there, because passing that fire on is a really important thing. Passing this stuff on is crucial, and if you can inspire someone to become a pianist or flute player or whatever, and they know that they were inspired by someone, or even if they don't know, because in my life there's a lot of things that they've inspired me, but I think at this point it's on a subconscious level. If you can help people to do things in a good way, that's what I'm all about. So like I say, it's really my thing. It's the reason that we share our flute making videos and my book, and we share all that we do here, is because we want people to be positive and growing. And there's so much negativity around the world. You don't even have to be part of that. You can ignore all that. You can set yourself aside. I remember some of my mentors in life told me that you don't even have to be involved with negativity. You can leave that. There's plenty of other people in the world that want to be involved with it. You can ignore it if you want to, and just do positive things. And that's the thing I kind of want to portray in life, I guess. Or I won't say teach. That's presumptuous. But I do want to exalt or portray the whole idea of people being happy and growing and becoming great. We're living in a very comfortable time in human history, and that's always frightened me, because comfortable is usually not for a long time. So enjoy it while you can, and if you can make this a time of growth like we did back in the 1920s and the 1950s, and before that we had so many great times in history that we grew. If you can do that, that's what being human's all about. Make things great and help people, and don't turn a blind eye. Don't ignore all that other stuff, but know that what you are is not necessarily a product of it. And if you are a product of it, and if it was negativity that has brought you into this world, use that to make yourself great and be positive and be great. So anyway, before we get too philosophical here, I just wanted to share a little bit with you guys about my life and who I am and what I do. As you know, we have lots of new videos coming out. We haven't even started making our clay whistle videos at this point in our video history. It's one of our things on the list. It's actually part of a new journey we're going to start taking here, because we make thousands of clay flutes, and most of you don't even know it. I mean, our website at this point, what's today's date? We're into August here of 2015. You're not ever supposed to put dates on videos because they're supposed to be very well rounded. But I'm gonna tell you, at this point in history, we've only got like 2 or 3 clay whistles on our website, but we make lots of clay flutes and clay whistles, so we've got a long realm to explore and lots of interesting stuff to share. And I think that all of the new video projects that we're doing, I think that you'll enjoy them, and certainly appreciate any of you that are returning to us. If you've seen us for the first time today, then check it out. We've got a lot of neat stuff that we share, and definitely come and visit us on our website, bluebearflutes.com, if you get a chance. I'm trying to add as much content information on there as possible. A lot of people think that some giant corporate entity is creating my website. It's a lot of work, let me tell you. It's a lot of work. And all the social media that we use and try to keep up on, there's a lot of it I seem to be falling behind on, but a lot of it we're keeping up on. It's a lot of work. So anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, meeting me and seeing a little bit about me, those of you who haven't had the opportunity to meet and learn something about me. But as always, we have a lot of contact methods open, and feel free to shoot us a question anytime you get a chance, and we definitely look forward to hearing from you. So once again, Charlie Mato-Toyela for bluebearflutes.com and Blue Bear Arts on Facebook, as well as on our YouTube channel, also on Twitter. Check us out, and we'll talk to you again soon.